So, other than throwing ourselves off the edge of cliffs on dodgy equipment or putting ourselves in the line of being punched in the face, what
Yeah.
are some of the ways that we can actually improve that ability to maintain focus and optimize our productivity in the workplace?
Well, it depends on what you're training for. So, if you're training for high stress environments like the police or military or um, extreme athletes or sport, the crux is we want to move it out of. So we spoke about those 60 bits, that tiny sort of amount of processing capability that our conscious focus has, but our subconscious has enormous capabilities for parallel processing and particularly around focus. It can process sort of 10 million bits of information a second through the sensory input. And so what we want to try and do is move that activity from the conscious area, from those 60 bits, where it's going to be very difficult and very limited, into a deeper subconscious realm. So the classic example is learning how to drive a car,
Yeah.
particularly a manual car. And I don't know if you remember when you learned or if you've taught somebody recently, but generally you've got like 5 or 6 tasks: changing gears and clutches and accelerators and steering. And when all of those things are being done together at the same time consciously, the car bunny hops or it
Yeah.
stalls, or the interference that's created decreases the quality of control, the quality of output at that moment in time. But over time, as they're practiced, then the changing of the gears gets taken out of this realm of prefrontal cortex or the 60 bits area, and that tiny processing capability of focus, and gets put into deeper brain networks.
Yeah.
And it frees up some of those 60 bits that was previously being used. So as we can start to train some of those elements deeper into these subconscious areas, into where there's the 10 million bits, then we can really start to free up those 60 bits to focus
Yeah.
on what it is we're doing. And if you're teaching someone to drive a car for the first time and you say, hey, change the car stereo, they'll have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right? But in 3 months' time, once the majority of those activities, those tasks of driving, those subtasks of driving have been put into the subconscious, they'll start texting and doing all sorts of crazy things automatically, simply because they have the confidence that, hey, I've got more than enough processing capability here to be able to do all of these other things. And that's an analogy that we can take to other areas of life that's outside of driving a car. But depending on the context of what it is that you're trying to achieve, that's one way that you can go about achieving it, which is what you're kind of doing in martial arts as well. You're training the
Yeah.
punch, you're training the move, you're training the defense to such a point that it gets pushed down into the subconscious. The brain just takes over, and the ability to then control your focus sort of surfaces if you're strong in other brain networks as well.